Hello and welcome to Mirror Realm. My name's Nick. I've got Jarrod with me here.
Hello.
And we're going still through all the Gothic reveals. We're on to Summoned from the Deep, monsters in Gothic. Let's just move on to the cards and skip all the flavor text. Shoggoth. Is that how you would say this?
Yeah, I'll be saying it.
Shoggoth. Right, it costs it costs 6, double water threshold, 5 powered, and it's ordinary monster, and it has submerge and void walk. I don't know if you want to talk about both of these at the same time.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say.
Because I don't imagine you're ever going to play the Shoggoth in constructed without the other card. So the other card is Elder Ruins. It's an elite site. It provides 1 water threshold, and it has sacrifice a minion here as a cost to be able to cast a Shoggoth submerged here from your collection. I think the first question is just, would you ever play the Shoggoth in constructed without the Elder Ruins?
No,
I don't think so. So let's just ignore that, and let's just cover them as a... And you're presumably never going to play the Elder Ruins outside of maybe a Pathfinder without the Shoggoth, but if you're playing it in Pathfinder, you probably have at least one Shoggoth, right? I imagine?
Yeah.
Don't know.
Yeah.
So, but that's a bit of a fringe thing. I think outside of Pathfinder, you're never going to play this in constructed without Shoggoths in your collection, presumably. So let's ignore the Pathfinder exception or whatever, and let's just cover these as a pair, that you're only ever going to play them together. Does that make it easier, do you think?
Yeah, I think it's definitely the case.
So let's just do that.
And in that basket, I think it's actually like a really good win condition for like a slow control deck. But I don't know if that is even the thing that you might even still be able to do with some of the cards that have been printed. So, but yeah, I think it's for like a really slow grindy game, just sacrificing like frogs or even skeletons or just something random, or even just using it as like a sacrifice outlet engine sort of thing, could be very strong.
It'd be interesting to know if you can still do the sacrifice even if you don't have a Shoggoth in your collection, or if you can't afford to pay the cost for it. If you can still pay the cost, but still do the sacrifice.
Because you can with Archmago, right? You can still remove 3 cards even if you can't cast any.
Yep.
So, my working under those assumptions from other cards, I think you probably can. And that makes it like potentially just a really good card in other decks as well. Just as like, even as playing it as like a thresholdless site, just as a sacrifice engine, could be very strong.
Yeah, that's interesting. Pretty good, even just in like Death Speaker, right? To be able to just instantly sacrifice the Grandmaster Wizard to cast it on the same turn. It's a good way for Death Speaker to be able to like navigate all of the cemetery hate a bit.
Yep.
Quite a bit, actually. Really, realistically, especially a Death Speaker that actually wants the water threshold as well.
Yeah, because they like the shapeshifter clone thing being very good in a deck with this.
And I mean, if you were playing such a deck, you're probably still running at least one Shoggoth in your collection in this example, right?
Interestingly, if, say, like, depending on how it works, right? If you have the mana available and you have a Shoggoth in your collection, if you sacrifice, you would have to cast it, I think. So that might be a reason that you wouldn't want it in there, just so you never have to spend the mana.
Yeah, that's a really interesting... I mean, this impacts the card quite a bit. If you can just sacrifice stuff without... If you don't have the Shoggoth to cast, or you don't have the mana, or whatever this interaction is, it matters.
Yes.
Because if you can't do it unless you can cast it, and you can't do it, therefore, if you don't have the mana or you don't have the Shoggoth and so on and so forth, it's obviously no good for these other things that we're describing in Death Speaker, for example.
Yeah. Or even there's just another water card in this post further down that has a benefit for sacrificing things at a location. So potentially even just being able to sacrifice, frogs over and over and over to get the reduced cost on the guy further down, things like that.
What card's that one?
That one, the Nard Wendigo. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So, like, say you could have 3 frogs there and just play, sacrifice them all and play it for free, something like that.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's really important, this interaction.
Yeah. So, I think we'll do like 2 reviews, right? One where you can do that, and then just another is just like the card. I think how it's probably meant to be, like envisioned. They probably wanted envisioned to be played as, which is just like jamming a Shoggoth over and over every turn, sort of thing.
Yeah, it's sure. It's because my mind is just. It would be a real shame if you can't do all that other stuff, because all that other stuff to me is actually way more interesting than getting the Shoggoth itself. Like all this other possibility space is just got my mind going straight away. Like the whole Death Speaker thing, like Death Speaker is potentially moved from being unplayable to playable, maybe because of this card.
Don't know, maybe.
Maybe it's still unplayable.
Absolutely, maybe. So when I first read it, I didn't really even think about that until like pretty much just now when I was reading it again. But I really liked it as just sort of like a slow, grindy win condition for like a control deck that like plays frogs and things like that. But yeah, now the other stuff is
it's not that I don't like it for that. It's just the other stuff is more interesting because it's like what you're describing is basically one possibility. And the other stuff is potentially many possible. There's potentially some like infinite recursion combo as well that either exists now or may exist in the future. Because I think, as far as I know, this is the only card in the game that allows you to.
I just thought this actually makes the replication combo deck a thing again, because you can like use the wizard, use all its discounts, and then sacrifice it, so it drops it straight away, and then play a new wizard and.
Well, that's interesting.
Sort of thing.
All that stuff, that's interesting, right? To me, that's interesting. So, it's obviously technically possible, but you actually have to draw the thing. You have to be on it, and like it's way more fragile than what it used to be.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But still, lets it be a thing again. At least that's interesting. And there's new spellcasters that would, you'd play Sisters of Avalon and things like that to generate even more, and that would help churn through your deck even faster.
But I feel like this is good for Death Speaker if it mitigates all the cemetery hate. Like you can, can just sacrifice the Grandmaster Wizard or the Apprentice Wizard or whatever it is, and immediately use the Death Speaker ability. I feel like if you can do that,
even with just like Violimps and stuff, like having four damage in front of that site, sort of thing, or anywhere adjacent to that site is pretty cool. Land Surveyors just drawing 2 sites, dig. It's could be really cool. But whether or not that deck is playable, because potentially if you don't draw Elder Ruins, that deck might just be completely unplayable.
Yeah,
because it's Death Speaker in a world with graveyard,
and it may also just be even if it is possible, and even if you do draw it, it still just may not be way too slow for what's coming.
Potentially, yep.
But
still an interesting.
Yeah,
it's got the thought juices flowing. So that's something.
It's potentially I don't know. I can't think of nothing infinite is coming to mind, but maybe there is something. But it certainly is more than a 2-card combo to do anything infinite with this, but it's obviously with Lady Assault, it's pretty good.
There'd definitely be stuff with Lady Assault, right? Because now you potentially don't need Ring to generate a lot of stuff, because the Ring used to be the way you'd kill stuff, so now you could potentially maybe not infinite because you'd need Hamlet as well, but maybe there's definitely some shenanigans where you can do a lot of really cool stuff. But
even just if you have the 8 mana...
Anytime you have a Sparrow, you're just always on 20 with the Lady Assault, things like that. It's pretty cool.
Well, yeah, unless they have a particular site in play, then you're not, but yeah.
Yes.
If they have 2 of them, you can do an infinite Sparrow and get nothing. So even just being able to do a pretty standard thing, like if you have 6 mana, just being able to cast Land Surveyor 3 times...
Yep.
Easily. that's all right. Or triple violent to do 6 damage to something. Like Lady Assault in this is just a pretty good 2-card combo in combination with anything with Genesis. Just about anything cheap with Genesis.
Or even more importantly, it turns Deathrite minions into consistent activations, right?
Yeah,
so and if something that has Deathrite, that's even better.
Yeah.
Well, not better, but it's like you now have a combo from a way to do it with Deathrite minions, and there might be some things that we haven't thought about with Deathrite like that just completely break this card. And specifically in the new set as well, there's got to be something with Deathrite that would be incredible.
Yeah, I don't know. Yep, I guess. I don't know. Maybe you saying there has to be a card with Deathrite that is incredible with this, or
maybe there probably is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it makes the Squeakers Pigs combo pretty consistent. Like you're definitely going to get your Sounders. And then you sacrifice them into the Grand Old Boars. Potentially, that's potentially something. I don't know.
I just thought of something. Awesome, which is
Candlemas combo.
No, the biggest one, the Archivist.
Yeah,
that's the big one because the big issue with doing anything with Archivist is that there was no free, easy, consistent way to get rid of him, and now there is.
Yep.
Unless of course, again, like as soon as if you have to be able to cast the Shoggoth to do this, all of this stuff doesn't matter. None of these things are possibilities, and the card is way more boring, narrow, less cool.
It's very pigeonholed into that control.
Yeah, it just does this one thing. No other possibilities. It's not creative. This is exactly kind of what you wanted for Archivist to be able to really do anything proper with it, like consistent with it.
On the Archivist thing, it's definitely some interesting interactions with that. That's for sure.
I mean, so just for clarity, is it Kairos, the Archivist? What we're talking about?
Yeah,
that's
Kairos.
So just for a bit of clarity, if you didn't watch our Dragon Lord video about the card, we think that the main space that card could ever see constructed play is in a deck where you are effectively casting it and you're doing the Genesis and the Deathrite all on the same turn. So you're setting up a board state where, in combination with that ability, you can win the game on that turn, basically. So a simple example of this is if they might be on, 14 life, you're able to do 7 damage on board somehow with attacks or whatever, and then you can just do 7 more damage effectively because you can just do the 7, reset the board state back, and do the 7 again.
Yeah, it sort of acts like a Wind Fury.
And then also you can potentially... Yeah, that's a very simple version, but there's more complicated ones where potentially you can, do the damage to get them to death's door or nearly to death's door, but with a whole bunch of really suboptimal plays.
In that example, it's just you just make suboptimal attacks, right? Like maybe you have a bunch of things out, you make suboptimal attacks, and then you
terrible
just reset
trades,
the board, and then you make everything comes back, and then maybe you only have to make a few more of those suboptimal attacks, and then they're on death door, sort of thing. Yeah,
and because you can cast it and sacrifice it all on the same turn, your opponent, you're not playing it and then doing the attacks. Well, you are playing it and then doing the attacks, but what am I trying to say here? The opponent can't, you're basically playing it, doing the stuff, sacrificing at the same turn. So your opponent can choose basically how they block around it.
That's about it.
But they can't. They're probable. Say they can't, but unless they know on their turn, they can't really set up for it or anything. It's very difficult to play around such a thing. Is what I'm trying. It's not like you can't do anything when you play it, or you can't do anything to play around it. But potentially, just because you're in a position where you can really just do anything in order anything, however suboptimal it is, and then reset it all back. I think there's certainly combinations and cards and minions and a deck there that I think if you get the Archivist and the Elder Ruins, it's very sort of good at winning. But it's a very good win condition, I think. The main issue that it had is that there was no consistent way to be able to just get rid of it the same turn you cast it without it costing extra cards or mana or something. And this is potentially just the answer if it works that way.
Yeah, could be interesting for sure. And there's probably going to be other cards. Like, we've already seen Bone Storm. Was it Bone? No, Bone. The projectile, the Bone Lance or whatever it is.
Yeah.
The one that does 3 damage. That's like potentially another way to do it for an extra mana. But yeah, this is going to be great with it if that's a thing. And I was just I was on looking at Curiosa, and I was surprised how few cards there are with Deathrite in general. But then I just typed in Dyers, and Squirming Mass came up. I think there's potentially some interesting things you can do with this and Squirming Mass and Lady Assault, things like that. Like, that could be some pretty interesting things. As like a janky combo deck, but there's definitely going to be, and I'm pretty interested to see what comes out in the next set if it works like this for sure. Because I feel like there's going to be a lot of thematically stuff around death and going to the graveyard and stuff like that. And there's obviously going to be new things with Genesis, so could be pretty cool. That's for sure.
Yeah. So I guess maybe it's worth just talking about whatever, just these cards in combination a little bit more, and then moving on. So
yeah.
I think water's a pretty good element to have, frogs pretty much to sacrifice.
Yep.
There's already Plague of Frogs and that new Gift of the Frog. Was that exceptional or ordinary? I can't remember already.
I think it was ordinary, but isn't it bad? I can't even remember what it does. I remember...
No, it just wasn't good for Archimago, but it was fine.
Oh, okay.
Potentially. You had to cast it.
You cast the frog to something else, right?
Yeah,
was that it?
To another ally or something. So you had to have... You couldn't have nothing on board. You had to have something. Yep. And Tadpole Pool and whatever. Like, there may be more ways to get frogs. I don't know. Or other stuff. Like, within water, there's plenty of stuff. And obviously, there's the new avatar that generates the skeleton tokens. Like, there's enough there's enough ways to easily have a minion to sacrifice.
Yeah, well, I mean, you'd probably be building your deck roughly in a way that... Like, I mean, you wouldn't be including it if you didn't have those sort of things in your deck, right? And I think there should be enough.
But it's not... I'm trying to think, because it's water and earth, really, right, that have the token generation stuff, I think. And air and fire, nothing is coming to mind.
Well, air's going to have a lot of tokens now with all the air sites that generate tokens.
Oh, the air does now, yeah. Well, just the one site.
No, there's 2 of them, those sites. There's one called... So there's Open Mausoleum that we saw, and then there's one called Open Grave that does the exact same thing. So there might even be more, we don't know. But there's at least...
So air has
play
a way.
at least 8 anyway, if you wanted to go in there.
So it's just fire at the moment that doesn't... Anyways, it's an element that has almost... And its frogs are, in a way, the best ones as well, right? Because they're like the easiest to get in volume and have 0 power.
Fodder.
Yeah, so...
They're generally designed to be fodder.
And then it is submerged, which is actually not terrible because it's difficult to kill. Like, it's got pros and cons. It's not all cons being submerged. There are certain matchups where that's definitely a pro. There's other ones where it would be a con.
Yeah, for sure. There's potential ways of moving it around while it's submerged, so it can still get its attack in like the next turn anyway. So there's like you say, pros and cons to it for sure.
You're unlikely to main deck it, so I'm not sure how significant the Void Walk will be, but it's not insignificant. There's at least one card we've seen that could potentially kill things by submerging them or pulling them into the void, so this would survive that card. And that card, what was it called? Yep. That card probably ceased play, right?
I can't remember.
Oh, it's in this. Is it in this one? It's in this one, so we'll get to that. And that card is really good, and it would survive that. So that's not insignificant. That it's also, that it's a prime target for that type of thing to want to kill because it's big. Like as we discussed quite a bit, that 5 is a pretty magical number because of things like Warp Spasm, Grimgisum.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Like, the fact that it's submerged is actually a good thing when you're trying to set up for a one shot. because it's much easier to survive. And then even if you have to like, take an extra turn, like say they have water sites, or you flooded the realm somehow, or you've got a landing fate in play, you like step under one of their sites and then potentially set up for a one shot.
Yep.
Which is pretty cool.
But yep. So that's potentially good, like an actively good thing that it's emerged for that type of, like, in that deck where you are doing the whatever. There's other ones, Grapple Shot, and there's quite a few cards that double the power. There's at least 3, right? There's Warp Spasm and Grimgir's Arm and the other artifact, Mask of Mayhem. And then there's various effects like Grapple Shot, but that's not the only one. There's quite a few.
Yeah, there's like plenty of fight.
That will strike.
Anything that says fight or strike.
Yeah. So you can either double to 20, or you can just double and then strike and hit, or strike and strike. So it's quite easy to, if in a deck that's trying to do that type of thing, to be able to just draw 2 cards that basically, double. And then if it's 5, double, it's 20. So you'd sort of have this game plan where you don't really care about doing any chip damage in that type of thing, right? Like you just have these things that are 5 power, and you're just going for a double type of thing.
Yep.
I don't know, it feels pretty good. Like, it feels like a lot of this stuff we're talking about, you're not like, yeah, it's cool or whatever, but I don't know if you'd want to use up slots in your sideboard that's not called sideboard, that I always forget. Collection.
Collection.
I don't know if it's worth it, but this feels worth it, basically.
Yes. Yeah, it would definitely depend on the deck and sort of thing, but it's this could, like, because maybe you only want to play this and play 4 Shoggoths, and then you just play the sites, and you just have like a site package in your collection, and maybe that's all you want to play. You don't want to play toolboxes, things like that. So I think the way the things that have been revealed from the collection so far, you're definitely going to have to pick and choose like what you play, right? You're not going to be able to play like a package for everything. You're just going to have to clamp down and be like, all right, these are the best ones for this particular deck. So, and that's probably only going to be 2 different things that search for things in the collection realistically. So this is a pretty strong one, I think, in general.
Yep, quite like it. Quite different though.
The game might evolve into just being way too fast for it, and in that scenario, then you're just never going to play it, right?
I think so.
Outside of
but even if that's true in Gothic, it's also possible that in a future set that because if I think anyways, if the game becomes really fast, I think a lot of people will complain about that and find it less fun. So I think if it does end up just like whoever goes first always wins because it's way too fast, and exactly, or they stumble for whatever reason and they don't, and the game's always basically over within 3 or 4 turns, you just know who's going to win, even if it takes a few more turns than that. If it sort of ends up there, I think a lot of people who, I think there will be pressure to slow it down, the game, basically. So
probably.
Now, having said that, it would, it would have to be a lot slower than that for this to be viable, pretty much.
So basically, if the game evolves into a point where it's like a mid-game, like it's like it is sort of at the moment, right? Like everyone's sort of playing like mid-game-ish, like mid-rangey decks, and all the decks are sort of starting to evolve to play like 6 and 7s, just to be like that a little bit bigger than everybody else and have like a trump card. This fits into that meta perfectly.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Could be very good next deck. Could be just way too slow. Who knows? But the combo action that it potentially opens up with just sacrificing and not casting is potentially incredible if it works that way.
Yeah, and I really hope that
it should.
Does. Yeah. There is an interesting thing about just if you have the Shoggoth and if you have the mana, I guess you have to do it.
I think so, yeah.
How... Yeah, it creates an interesting question about how it's supposed to be known that you have it in your collection. Like, obviously, but how is that? How does your opponent know?
Oh, it'd just be a rules thing, right? Like in any kind of tournament, if your opponent tries to do it and they don't cast a Shoggoth, you could just be like, Judge, can you check their collection or whatever. Just
Yeah.
to make sure
Well, that's not an insignificant
That's all
thing
it would take.
because that makes exactly. That's a bit clunky, right? For
Well, it also comes down like if you, it's like you would just get DQ'd if you tried to do it. Basically, I think because you'd be misrepresenting like your cards.
Yeah.
You'd just be straight. It's just straight up cheating if you try to do it right. So at some point during a whole tournament, surely you're going to get caught at some point. So you would definitely, maybe you get 1 or 2 wins and then you get DQ'd. Doesn't seem worth it, personally.
No.
But,
But at the end of the day, I mean, you're talking in some world that I've never seen a single deck check or anything. Like, I've never seen anything in this space ever happen, ever, even when there's a judge. And that's one thing. And then there's another world which is just, like, online, right? Is it going to become a, thing where you have to reveal your... Like, how there's no judge, right? So how's that enforced? Do you have to reveal your collection at the end of the game?
easiest way to enforce it is just if you tried to do this, you just have to reveal your collection and prove there's no show off. Like, that's, it's not optimal, but it seems like an easy way to get around it.
Yeah, I mean, my immediate thought was you just have to reveal your collection at the end of the game.
Yeah,
But-
there's that too. Yep.
But anyway, there's a thing there that whatever this is, this stuff that we're describing, yeah, whatever, sure, there's things that could be done. What would be done, I don't know. And as far as I know, there aren't any other cards in the game that enforce having to do this type of thing. Is that true or not? Or is there other cards that do? Maybe there is. Maybe everything that says do something from your collection is going to have the same problem.
Yeah, probably.
Because-
Well, it depends, right? Because this one is very specifically has a name of the thing that you can do. So the thing that generic ones would, I suppose you could just say like, yeah, there's no cards that match this type, so I'm just sacrificing it to do whatever. So yeah, maybe that's true of the other types.
There's
as well.
something that gets the hybrids from your collection for sure.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking, like, if cards of, like, toolboxes, sort of stuff like that,
Yeah.
if you could just be like, yeah, I don't have any ordinaries left or whatever, and you sort of still have to prove that. So, yeah, it is going to be something that's
It's a thing.
going to come up with
Going to
a
need
collection
a
card.
proper ruling of how that's supposed to be navigated in the end.
Yeah.
Because even
Yeah,
if
sure.
there's whatever we're describing, like a deck that you're saying, like you're doing it over and over and over again, like you're cheating or something, but park that for a second. It's a very weird game where all sorts of weird board states can occur. Like ignoring any kind of combo or anything like that. There's just a world where there's just some really weird board state where you don't want the thing to come into play for whatever reason, right?
Yep.
Like that's just
Yeah,
not
for sure.
just not
Yeah.
a far stretch thing at all. And even though like 99 games out of 100 you want the thing, there's just that one game where you don't. And just understanding that, I think, is important. Just to, think this interaction with the collection where, because it kind of just sounds like you have to do it based on this. It doesn't say you may cast, and then all of a sudden
Yeah, but
it's
that's
super
also
clean,
how
right?
Echo's worded, right?
Yeah, just says cast.
It's not like remove free. Yeah, it just says cast. Like,
Yep.
And
Yep.
and if you don't have the mana, you can still activate the ability. So, don't know.
Yeah.
Feels definitely going to need clarification. That's for sure. And under the current way the game works, it feels like it should work the way we're describing. But maybe that becomes a problem when they just change the rules. Like, that's definitely a thing that happens quite often.
There are so many things like this, though, that like cards that come in counterparts type of thing, where it's just like, this, like, assuming it's the case that in limited, in draft or whatever, like, there's so many things like this that are just pretty feels badsy. Like,
Yes.
if you
Yeah, it
don't
certainly
get
feels
them,
that way.
if you don't get both of the cards that work together like this, and
even with cards like this, like, there's a pretty good chance even if you get the Elder Ruins and the Shoggoth, you just want to play the Shoggoth in your deck anyway.
yeah. Yep, and even if you get the Elder Ruins and 2 Shoggoths, you just want to play both of the Shoggoths in your deck anyway. So
Essentially, like, unless you had like unless you also open Necromancer, then maybe
Yeah,
you
maybe
don't.
not,
But
yeah.
otherwise, it's like you probably do.
horrible hybrids. It's just there's a card that is it a site That
Yeah, as a cycle. It's the generic like 3 power for 3 monster from that cycle, basically.
yeah. And what is the site? You can pay 3 or something. Genesis, you can pay 3 or something and get it. I can't remember.
You have to have like 2 of the threshold. So the site, it seems like the whole site, the cycle of the sites is I think they're exceptional. Maybe they're ordinary. I can't remember, but they have 1 of the threshold, and then Genesis is you have to have 2 of the threshold, and then you can pay 3 to get 1 of this cycle from your collection onto that site.
Right, and we talked about that before with one of the other ones in the cycle where it was just maybe it's playable in some I think it was the air one, right? Maybe it's playable.
I think it was the air one,
but it feels like there's probably better things you can be doing with your collection than that for nearly all decks. So was that the right summary for what we said before?
Yes.
So maybe there's this.
I mean, we were a little divided on it with the air one because you really thought.
Well, I thought of all of them. Yeah, that might be one of the best
and
homes.
My thought was surely there's going to be something better you can do with the collection, but that might not be true. Like it would definitely depend on what else comes out and what you want to do.
It feels like one of the best homes though from the existing Avatar set, but there may be an even better home for these than in the new with the other card. Like maybe you want the monsters, right? More monsters, and maybe there's a better Avatar that sort of wants to be doing that as its 3-drop or whatever, or later in the game or whatever. Like maybe there's just a way better home with other cards in Gothic than for them, but I think the main point really is that those 10 slots in the collection are quite valuable. Yeah. And I think nearly every deck that you ever build, you'll be like, well, I kind of want these 45 cards in there, but I have to narrow it down to 10. And I think most decks we build, I think, when we do the exercise, we're going to start with a pool of towards 50 and narrow it down to 10. And I think that just gives you, just to give a bit of an idea about, they're not valueless or something like that. They're important, I think.
Yeah,
in the game.
Like there might be the occasional deck that just ignores it and doesn't play any of those cards, but I think that deck in particular would most likely just play the sides ones. But who knows? It might change. Like, I would be very surprised if no deck doesn't use the collection in some way.
I mean, it's not even that much of a stretch for me to imagine that there would be 10 different exceptional sites that you could have that would be solving 10 different problems or doing 10 different useful things. And you can almost get there with the sites that currently exist without even any new sites as well. I imagine you could get to more than 5 easily.
Yeah, easily. Yeah.
Especially in a deck that's like really threshold hungry, because you could put some of the dual sites in there as well.
Yep. Yeah, and especially with just the 3 sites in the last video that we did. Like, there's already 3 from the new set, but you're guaranteed to want all of those things if you have your whole collection available with sites.
Yeah. Yeah, and even the water one probably as well, right?
Probably, yeah.
The one that moves stuff, and yeah,
so you'd be happy to have Bedrock in there, all sorts, even if you're not Earth, things like that. There's definitely a lot of interesting things you can do with it for sure.
So yeah, but these are pretty good in limited. I think I like it. I feel like if these were nothing in Legends, I'd have double water threshold, and that would be really awkward to play in a lot of decks in limited. But with the single threshold, they're a pretty good pickup, I think, in limited.
I think it's going to make it hard for the decks that actually draft the cards that interact with these to get
them because of that.
To even get them to have them in their deck, sort of thing, or in their collection. I think that's potentially why they could have been double. But yeah, it's obviously better that they don't. But yeah, it's going to be a little bit awkward for limited, I think, for drafting some of these cards. Which one do you take first? Who knows? It's going to be interesting to work out, though.
So ultimately, they're in a bit of weird spot. Like, you're never presumably going to play them in constructed main deck.
No.
They're only ever going to be in limited, maybe, sure, and in limited, it's very interesting, right? Unlike the other conversation, I think with these, if you got them and you had the site that could bring them in, like, there is a real conversation about whether you would want it in the deck or in the collection to get down with the site. So, yeah, that site, what is... we don't know if they were ordinary, right, or exceptional, those other sites.
I don't remember. They've been revealed, at least a couple of them. I think all of them have.
Yeah.
I mean, it might just be we're just assuming they're a cycle, but I think they've all been revealed, maybe? Been a while.
Yeah, okay. It's interesting if the site's exceptional, because you can play the elite site to get the exceptional site to get the hybrids, potentially, as well.
Yep.
But that's, then all of a sudden you're taking up multiple collection slots just for it. But who knows? Maybe it makes sense in a specific deck.
I think they're ordinary. But,
yeah.
Like, if I had to, bite the bullet and say, pick a card, I would say ordinary. But I'm not, definitely not sure.
Okay. Moving on, Metamorphosis. Cost 3, 2 water threshold. It's an exceptional magic. It says, disable target nearby minion until your next turn. At the start of that turn, you may transform it into a monster from your hand or horrible hybrids from your collection. So horrible hybrids is the one that we were just discussing.
I'm unsure about this card. Like, at least it's flexible. It's very flexible because you can use it as like a, pseudo removal spell, like, turn their, good unit into a 3, just as like a, generic 3-power unit. But it also has the upside of potentially, turning one of your frogs into a great old one or something like that. Like, I'm unsure about this card. Let's put it that way. Certainly not a consistent card, I don't think, but maybe the flexibility gives it enough that the consistency isn't as much of a problem.
I don't mind conceptually cards like this, though, where you have, like, you could just disable their minion and kill it, right?
Yep, yeah, it's also a trick in that way, like, using it like a sleep.
And I don't hate the idea necessarily of disabling their great old one or whatever and then turning it into a horrible hybrid, even if you didn't kill it. And there's potentially some monster that it's like, Genesis, you lose the game or something to that effect, right? Something that's got crazy bad. Oh, yeah, no, but like it wouldn't. Yeah, although the Genesis wouldn't trigger, right? Because it'd already be in play. But the point is that there's some monster with some really horrible drawback that you effectively give it to them, right? Because that's what would happen if you targeted their minion, it would
turn their minion into something from your hand,
and they would control it. So there may be some monster that is like just really bad to control for some reason.
Yeah, it just has like a negative drawback when it dies, something like that.
I feel like in limited, this is a pretty good. Like, you're not unhappy to play this in your deck, even if you don't have the horrible hybrids.
I mean, I'm pretty happy to play Sleep. I think Sleep's a very strong card in limited, so this is like, Sleep in the way that you want to use Sleep as just a trick, effectively. Yeah.
Is it just a poor man's Sleep, basically? But
yeah, very poor man's Sleep.
But in limited, you could have potentially one or two, one really good monster, one semi-good monster in your deck, and this, and a couple of token type things, and you maybe have the way to get the whatever it is, right? Diluvian Kraken, or I don't know, some random card down. Like, it's it's not likely, but it's possible that you could ramp a monster out. But also, it's possible you can just disable their minion, their 5-power thing, hit it with your 5-power thing, kill it, yours lives type of thing. I don't hate these types of cards in limited that have these sort of multiple uses at all.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's certainly going to be playable for sure, and I think it's going to be one of those cards where it's like really high ceiling, but not quite as low of a floor as like Shapeshift or something like that. Like it's a much higher floor than Shapeshift, so I like it way more than Shapeshift. Let me put it that way. It is a lot slower. Like that's potentially a thing as well. So like it's not as good at transforming, but it's also because it's from your hand. You don't have to just like mize off the top, so you're setting up for exactly what you want to do. So in that factor, it's like way more consistent as well. It's obviously a lot less, you get hurt on the card advantage side of things, but so it's more akin to like a Aquamarine core, not core, the stacking one mix is more like a mix in that sort of sense. So it's definitely different enough to those cards, and it's like a combination of a bunch of different ones. So I think it's probably going to see a reasonable amount of play.
Slimy Mutants. They cost 5, double water threshold, 4 power. They're ordinary monsters. They have Submerge. And you can pay 3 mana to transform an ally with Submerge into Slimy Mutants from your hand. So if Slimy Mutants are in your hand, you can pay 3 mana and transform an ally that has Submerge into the Slimy Mutants if they're from your hand. So they have Submerge themselves. So if the ally is submerged, then they would transform it, then they would live because they have Submerge, and if it's not submerged, they would just be on the surface. It's
I think they're alright. Because obviously the main transform target is going to be frogs. So if you have like a deck that's just generating like a reasonable amount of frogs, like for your Shoggoth Sight and things like that, and Metamorphosis, things like that, it's going to be a pretty good include. Because basically, if you get a frog out on 1 or 2, it's a cat, right? It means you get to play more cats. They have the monster type, which probably pretty relevant. Submerge, pretty good ability. Obviously, they're pretty weak if you're hard casting them.
But you have the option, ultimately, which isn't terrible.
You wouldn't be including them in a deck that you would be consistently hard casting them. But if you have a deck that going to be consistently be able to transform them on turn 3, they're going to be really good, I think. But that definitely comes down to there needs to be enough frog generation in the next set to make them viable. Because effectively, when you transform it, they're going to have haste as well. So they're pretty big, pretty incredible. If you can stick the frog.
And I mean, there isn't an awful lot. What is it? There's that Gift of the Frog that we can't remember if it's Conception or Ordinary.
Yep.
There's Plague of Frogs. There's Tadpole Pool.
Had one frog.
Is that it that we've seen? That we know of? And Tadpole Pool and Plague of Frogs both require triple water threshold.
Yeah.
So it's pretty hard to have those already in play before you have 3 mana.
Yep. But I mean, even if you did Tadpole Pool on 3, and then just played it, you get it without haste, but it still, it still comes in. What else? Yeah, there's not many things that make frogs, so it definitely have to be something new that makes frogs. But it doesn't have to be a frog, right? Like it can be, it has to have Submerge. So
it kind of has to be. Not sure unless there's something else, but I mean, it could be a deep sea mermaids, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. But obviously, it doesn't work very well with the curve.
No, it's pretty.
It does definitely feel it have to be like something from the new set, effectively, because most of the things with Submerge aren't very cheap.
Yeah.
Anyway. But so as under the assumption that there's some decent frog generation, then it's good. But otherwise, probably not.
Nope. But still probably playable when constructed. Probably.
Yeah.
Even if you can possibly never do that, just 5 for 4 is...
No, I don't think they're ever going to be played and constructed if you can't do
Not constructed. I mean, in limited, sorry. In limited, even if you can't ever do it, you would play this in sometimes. It would see some play, even if
Yeah,
it was just 4 powered submerged. That was it. It would see limited play.
yeah, it wouldn't be like incredible or anything, but it'd certainly be playable for sure.
Right. Gnarled Wendigo. Cost 6. It has a single water threshold. It has 5 power. It's an exceptional monster, and it costs 2 mana less to cast for each minion you sacrifice at its summoning location. This costs 2 less to cast for each minion you sacrifice at a summoning location. This is unclear to me, because you were saying that other one you have to do you have to pre-sacrifice them before you play it, or is it like the sacrifice happens as part of the cost? You can sort of read this both ways. I'm not sure. It's
because when I first read it, I read it as this isn't a sacrifice outlet. This is, if you've sacrificed stuff there, this is cheaper. But it definitely does read both ways, and I don't know which way it actually is. Because I mean,
yeah, nothing in the text that helps you understand.
If it was the second way of like, you sacrifice as part of the cost, you would think it would be like, as you would say, like as part of the cost to cast this, or something like, this. I don't know, but there's definitely a different way to word it that makes it very clear.
Yeah, the same could be said of the opposite, though. If it wasn't intended to work that way, you could do the wording differently to make it very clear that it isn't.
Yep.
Like, this costs 2 less to cast for each minion you... Because it says you sacrifice at a summoning location. It could just be you have already... you have sacrificed at its summoning location this turn. The fact that it doesn't even say this turn either, right? So... I assume, but the fact that it doesn't have sacrificed, it says sacrifice, it makes it, to me, my gut feel is this is cost. This happens when you play it, and you can choose to do the sacrifice then. Which
I think that option is worse than the other one. Maybe not. Maybe it's better.
It's different. Depends on the deck. Certainly. Yeah. Better generically speaking, and probably way worse in regards to combo related stuff, which probably means that it isn't the latter, because there's generally effort put in to avoid combo related stuff. So I mean,
it turns Tadpole Pool into a pretty insane tower for this thing if it works that way.
Yeah. Yep.
Pretty incredible with Necromancer.
Yep.
And like, you spend your first couple of turns just turn 1 generate a dude, turn 2 generate a dude, and use the one of the mausoleums or whatever, and then jam this the turn after when you move them together, something like that. Like, I don't know. I mean, both ways it's probably pretty decent.
Yep. Certainly quite different, though, depending on which way. I mean, the fact that I can't believe that it was going to cost 2... Well, maybe I say I can't believe I could believe it. It's just if it's going to cost 2 less to cast for each minion you sacrifice at a summoning location, and it doesn't say this turn, so it would presumably have to be at any part in the whole game if it worked that way. And that feels pretty good.
Yep.
Because basically, if that's... And then it also creates the prospect, if it worked that way, that once you'd sacrifice three things at a given location at any point in the whole game, you could just jam down 3 of these on the same turn for free.
Yeah. Yep.
It doesn't feel like it's going to work that way to me. It feels to me like if you have a Tadpole Pool, you get to jam 1 of these for free, but not 3 of them for free.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably the way they wanted it to work. Yeah, I think so.
So I think it's a cost reduction, like a part of the cost.
Yeah.
So let's assume that it works that way, because I can't really see it working the other way. It's just crazy to be able to, because if it works the other way, then you can play multiple of these for free.
But yes, but you do also need a deck that synergizes with sacrificing units at a certain location, right?
Yeah.
So there is like there's a setup cost to it as opposed to just a cost reduction sort of aside to it. So I can see it working both ways, right?
Don't know. I mean, whichever way it works, it's playable in constructed.
Yeah. Yep. And they're just in whichever way it works, they're just playable in two
different decks,
pretty much.
Yeah. I mean,
so if we review it as sacking units to make it cost less, I think it's gonna find a home in any Necromancer deck that is playing water for sure.
I mean, even if you just playing it just sacrificing one skeleton to reduce it by 2 down to 4 and getting a 5 power for 4, that's just pretty good.
Yeah, it's like Phalanx territory, right?
Good. That's pretty good. And the fact that in that type of deck, you could sacrifice 1, you could sacrifice 2, you could sacrifice. It's not like you have to be able to cast it for 0 or it's useless, right? It's still great if you can cast it for 2 or 4.
Well, if you think of it as just even sacrificing 1 skeleton or frog or whatever, it's easier to activate as a 4 cost 5 power unit than the Shackled Demon.
Yeah,
and that was pretty good. Like we thought that was a pretty good card. So this is much easier to do than that, and it's very realistic to drop it on turn 2.
Yeah, it's highly playable in limited as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, it's only got 1 water threshold. It's weird. This card just feels out of whack with some of these others.
I mean, you compare this to the Undesirables, what?
Which doesn't Undesirables also have double threshold, and this only has 1? It's like,
maybe I can't remember.
Maybe not.
Just
this is just going to see loads of constructed play. If it's the version where you're sacrificing them as part of the cost, it's going to be in more decks, I think.
Yeah. And then if it's the other version, then it's going to be highly played in a very specific deck. But it will be 3 copies in every single one of those decks.
This is just so...
And it will be really good in that deck.
This is just so... For ordinary or exceptional card. Because most of the stuff we've seen that's incredible has been unique or elite. Of that. This is in
Yeah.
This is one of the best cards we've seen easily, isn't it? At all the reveals. It's in the top whatever, right? Top 5 or whatever?
Well, potentially, yeah. I mean, even if you just compare it to the other thing that's the same cost and the same size in this post, it's miles better than that.
Yeah, and we were already saying that this is... Yeah, it's more... Yeah. But this is just... I mean, we were playing pirate ships, and, we played pirate ships and phalanx and stuff in loads of decks.
Yeah, and this is easier than all those. Yeah, this card's pretty good.
Right.
Don't know if there's much more to say about it, other than just, it's good. Whichever version it is.
Right, next one, it's Regurgitator. It costs 5 mana, it's double water, has 4 power. It's an elite monster. This is the text. So at the end of your turn, Regurgitator must either fill its belly by banishing a dead minion, or...
Fill its empty belly. Empty belly matters.
Yeah, empty, yeah. Or empty its full belly, so it's not really a choice, it's always one or the other here.
Yeah.
Or empty its full belly by shooting a projectile that deals damage equal to the eaten minion's power. Important, this is, like most of these things, it's going to be from either cemetery.
Yep.
And you would get to choose it based on this description. But yeah, so basically it's going to enter play empty, and at the start of the first turn that it starts under your play, so the turn after you... At the end, sorry. So at the end of your turn, you play at the end of your turn, it's then going to fill its belly. So, no matter what here, it's going to act as cemetery hate, potentially. Yeah. And then at the end of the following turn, which is pretty cool because it gets to basically potentially like punch and shoot. Like potentially it can do quite a lot of damage in one turn. Or empty its belly by shooting a projectile that deals damage equal to the eaten minion's power. I mean, immediately I'm like, this is totally playable in limited. This is a bomb in limited, isn't it?
Yeah, this is easily a first pick in limited.
Like, just amazing. Like, there's going to always be stuff to eat. Like, there's always whatever part of the game, early game, it's, you know, it even like late game, it's still amazing. Like, even though it's only, you know, only 4 power, like, this just scales through the whole game, and
the game warps around this card when you play it.
Yeah. But the fact that it's at the end of the turn it shoots, you can always have your whole turn to reposition it, right? To be able to hit something with it. And in limited, it's, you know, naturally way more difficult to kill as well. Especially with this, because you don't even have to like frontline it or anything for it to do.
Yeah, you play it in a safe spot, and then you move it around, and then you move your own minions around to make sure you're not going to hit them. There's a lot of things you can do to make sure this never backfires. And if it's hard to deal, it's going to be hard to deal with because you can play it safe and keep it safe, and then it's just always going to be able to do good things to your opponent, pretty much. It's never going to backfire.
I mean, you get to pick the direction of the projectile.
Yeah, there's also that, right? Like,
it kind of just feels like, your worst case scenario here is that you don't get to hit something that turn, pretty much, right? And then, like, it's going to be really hard for them to... Because the fact that it's the end of your turn, so you're all... It's not like if it was at the start, they could move out the way and then it would trigger. But because it's at the end of your turn, if you have any movement, any way to move it in addition to its own movement, it's going to be impossible for them to dodge it. Yeah. And even only with its own movement, it's like it's so game warping that even if they're somehow dodging it, so to speak, that they're doing a whole bunch of suboptimal plays probably just to dodge it. And it's in a lot of limited games, it's potentially a lot of stuff they got to dodge for a lot of turns as well.
Yep.
Now, this potentially does get hated on by all of the other cemetery hate, so that it would have nothing to eat. But,
but because it's the end of your turn, you can set up where you just trade one of your minions for their minion, and then all of a sudden you're refilled. And it's only every second turn you need to refill, so it's like, it's very doable.
Yeah, I think in limited this is just amazing. So I don't know if let's talk about constructed, because it's clear in limited this is just an absolute bomb.
I think it's probably pretty solid in constructed as well. Like, it's like, it's graveyard hate for the decks you want graveyard hate against. It's not like the most efficient, but it's also not dead in the matchups where the graveyard hate does nothing. And in those matchups, it's potentially really strong. Even if you just played it safe and were just throwing minions at them every second turn, sort of thing. So I think it's probably got playability in constructed. Whether or not it's like everything else power creeps it out, that's another thing to be said. But you can also reliably like sacrifice your own minions with a lot of the other stuff we've seen from water to be able to always fill it up with like something sort of thing. So I don't know, I think it's pretty strong. And water has so many mobility tools that you're probably always going to be able to hit exactly where you want.
Yeah, and there's maybe even just some big combo like you can somehow get the Great Old One right down like to the get into the cemetery somehow to give it stealth or whatever. Like, you know, there's potentially something there where you are doing some big, like,
with the Great Old One, if there's a way to discard it into your cemetery and remove it, and then you just have to live for a turn. It's just a one shot, right, with the attack combined. So potential stuff there for sure.
Yeah, so I think it's just like whatever, total bomb in limited and maybe playable when constructed, but also maybe just too slow.
Maybe.
Yep. I mean, just looking at those two cards side by side, you know,
I'll put it this way: I think most decks that you would be playing the Shoggoth package, you're probably playing this. It's pretty synergistic with that in general. And it's like, that's obviously going to be like a slower deck, the Shoggoth package, and this is probably sits into that deck pretty well. I also really like the art on this card. It's probably my favorite Lindsay card.
Yep. I like the art on the Wendigo as well.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yep. You can tell this is is it the beta avatar?
Nope. See ya. Is his avatar? You trinket. Great old one.
Yeah, Sia. That's the one. Yeah. That's the one I was thinking of. Yeah.
Oh, you said like beta.
Oh, yeah. I meant to say this is reminding me of one of the beta avatars. It is the Sia one. If you look at the Sia art, like it's just stylistically very similar.
Yeah. Same for Kraken and Goo.
Oh, there's still more to come. Moving on, or more about that?
Yeah, go down. Yep.
So, Abyssal Assault. It costs 4, double water threshold. It's an exceptional magic. For each point of its power, an allied monster may deal 1 damage to a unit in a square near it. Couple of bits here. So one, this is a square near it, so it can be the void, it can be above the surface, it can be below the surface. The other point is we don't know, do we, if it's going to effectively be, if it's like 5 power, if it repeats this process 5 times and you can select like many different targets potentially, or if it's just doing it once for that amount of damage. We don't know.
As like 1 packet or like a Stone Rain machine gun sort of thing.
Yeah, or magic missiles or whatever. So, because it says for each point of its power, an allied monster may deal 1 damage to a unit in a square near it. So you could definitely read this as for each point of its power, do this process.
Yeah, because otherwise it would probably just say deal its power to a monster, right? Like,
yeah, I think so. Yeah,
deal its power to something near it, sort of thing.
An allied monster may deal damage equal to its power. Yeah, so it's clearly got to be the other way where you're doing the process over and over. But then, and I think you can choose, if it is that, I think you can choose different squares for each iteration if you want, or the same one.
Yeah, that's sort of how I read it, but I'm honestly not sure.
Let's go with that, because I think it is for each point of its power, an allied monster may deal 1 damage to a unit in a square near it. It's too many variants to rate them all. I mean, it's clearly way better if you can choose
like the squares over and over. Yeah, for sure.
If you can what? Sorry.
If you can choose the squares over and over and do one.
Yeah, I think you can do 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. I think the question is, can you pick? Do they all have to be in the same square? Can you pick different or the same units in the same square? I think you can do that, regardless. I think the question is, can you pick different squares if you want as well? And I think the answer to that is yes. I mean, it's
got... You're going to need to fact this card.
Yeah. I think let's rate it on the best version, which is that you can pick different squares and then it's doing 1 damage over and over and over again. I think.
Yeah, which is really good. Outside of the fringe case scenario of trying to kill a Shellycoat with it.
Yeah, or something with shield maidens nearby or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It has to be a monster, so straight away that's a reason to...
It pairs well with all these submerged monsters, because, play a big fatty with submerge, and then next turn you just get the blast.
I mean, great old one, this is just, you play it submerged, floods a realm, move it forwards, play this, game over, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's
And
pretty.
that's even without the 1 1 1 1 1 1. That even if there was just a package, that would still be the case.
Yeah, that feels pretty good.
Yep.
Obviously,
And
that may just be way too slow though for the new meta in constructed. But
yeah,
I mean,
it doesn't. We love playing Goo, no matter how slow it is. Doesn't matter if it doesn't fit in the deck. Let's get in there.
I mean, you're clearly in constructed going to need some kind of thresh. Like, it doesn't do anything if you don't have a monster. So
Yep.
you gotta reliably have monsters on board, and then a lot of the time it's basically just going to be 4 mana kill something, which
It
isn't
could be like a
terrible. But
I could definitely see it acting like a water poison nova. But I think
yeah,
the big thing of it, the way it's sort of, you need a monster for it to work. The thing that really makes me think about it is it's going to act like blow away, like kill all your blockers, and then smash you with a giant monster, right? That's sort of, I think that's the theme of what they were going for with the card, and I can definitely see it working that way quite a bit.
yeah. I mean, if it works the good way, I still think the card is like, it's not. I mean, at the end of the day, like, other stuff like Poison Nova exists. So it's
Yeah,
you
but
can
Poison Nova doesn't go face for,
yep
6+, like, reliably. Like, it doesn't clear out a bunch of blockers for your minion unless that minion has Spellcaster, because it's probably going to die to it. So
yep.
I think
No,
it
it's
definitely has a
different.
lot of good
I'm just
things.
saying I don't think the
It's
card's
also
unfairly crazily
Oh
good.
no, I don't think so.
That's what
I
I'm
think
saying.
it's if for me, it sort of feels like it's in that grapple vein of like potentially making your monster do double damage to the face, or like clearing out a blocker so that it can attack, something like that.
Yeah.
And potentially there's some scenarios where it'd be better than grapple. Most scenarios it's probably worse than grapple. But obviously, if there's like a bunch of skeleton tokens kicking around, this is really good at dealing with that.
Yeah.
So that you can just like punch away.
Yeah. I quite like it.
I think it's pretty strong.
It's going to need to be, unlike a lot of these other cards we're describing, can potentially be in any deck, whereas this, obviously it needs to be in a deck with monsters.
Yes.
Now, there are some pretty good monsters for it, like the Wendigo, right? Like, it's pretty good.
Yeah. And that's like potentially very easy to do in the same turn, right? Like just sacrifice a few units, jam down a massive Wendigo, and then just blast away, right? And then all of a sudden you clear their board pretty easily. Something like that is also very, very reasonable.
It's also exceptional, so it could be in your toolkit for the toolkit or whatever the elite one was. Silver Bullet,
Yeah.
I think, was the elite one.
Yep.
Doesn't feel like a terrible target because I can't remember what. Oh no, the thing had to tap to grab it, right? So it wouldn't be able to. You could do it with your avatar to cast it. Yeah, it would work, right? It just
Yeah.
I can't remember the cost, but it is something where if you have really big monster like Great Old One, that you might want this as a Silver Bullet target. Then it isn't like a dead card when, like, I mean, in the deck where it combos with Great Old One, but there's nothing else in the deck. There's no other monsters, right? It's the only one. You would not want to be main decking this in such a deck, but you probably could be happy to run one in your collection as a Silver Bullet for when the scenario happened, right? When you have the Great Old One to do it. You play it submerged, you move it up, and you can hit him for 16 the following turn, whilst it's still submerged.
Sure.
So, yeah, and in limited, obviously, same sort of deal where you just have to have enough. You just got to have monsters.
You just got to have the monster count, yeah.
And if you do, if you have any sort of volume of monsters, which isn't necessarily that big, right? Like, if you have one or two biggish ones and just 4 or 5 more total, like to end up with 7 or 8, even if those other ones are just whatever this 3-power thing was. Horrible hybrids, like, as long as you had the potential of at least one bigger monster to do something big, and that you had enough that you could at least always use it, that's probably just in your deck, right?
Probably.
feels a bit like this one is more of a construct, like probably a bit harder to make work in limited generally than constructed, where you could have a whole deck that just because of the monster requirement.
Yeah, it just depends on how like the ordinary and exceptional like water cards, like maybe they're all monsters. We don't know. Maybe, like, if it's 90% of the water minions are monsters, then it's probably pretty easy to play if you're in water, sort of thing. But that might not be the case, right? We just don't know yet.
Nope. But I think ultimately playable in constructed, playable in limited.
Yeah. I mean, in any deck in limited that has monsters, this is like an absolute powerhouse of a card. If you can cast it, basically. It's going to be incredible. But whether or not that's a thing that's going to reliably happen is up to be seen. But we did just see there's Wendigo at exceptional, then you got the Slimy Mutants, which is ordinary, and then you got the Shoggoth, which is ordinary. It's pretty good to cast.
The hybrids,
and then the hybrids is ordinary, but it's a
so
little bit worse
ordinary.
to cast off the hybrids.
Ordinary.
There's a lot of ordinary exceptionals. Pretty good chance that you're going to be able to get good value out of that in limited, I think. And it's exceptional, so you're probably going to see it a reasonable amount as well.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's a card that's going to be like drafted by somebody else to potentially splash, because it's double threshold, so it's hard to splash, and it has a monster requirement, so even harder, right?
Yeah, that's definitely one where you just, if you have the monsters, you can pick it up, and if you don't, like, the person who has the monsters picks it up, basically, later as a later pick, because nobody's going to take it who doesn't have the monsters. Yeah,
like, say there's two people drafting water at the table, and the other person is, like, light on water and is playing mortals or something. Like, all of a sudden, this is just yours. Even the other water player might not want it.
Yep, a lot of these types of things, it feels like it's hard to make work because both of the cards involved you have to draft high-ish, and it's never going to happen. Whereas there's other stuff.
This one's not really that case, I don't think.
Yep. Right. Thing in the Ice. It's cost 3, double water, threshold, has 6 power, which is obviously way ahead of curve for 3 mana. It's a unique monster, and it has Genesis. It's disabled for 3 of your turns. It can't be targeted or damaged by magic until the ice melts. So, just to be clear, a couple of things here. So, disabled for 3 of your turns is going to mean that the turn you cast it counts as 1. So you'd have that turn, then your opponent, then you'd have another turn, it'd be the second one, then your opponent, then you'd have a third one. Then at the end of that turn, it would no longer be disabled, and then it'd be your opponent's turn. So the first turn, pre-disabled, can't be targeted or damaged by magic, is going to be your opponent's turn, not your turn. Just, right?
Yeah.
So your opponent will effectively be able to target it and damage it with magic before you get to do anything with it.
I think the biggest risk with this card in general, though, is just it getting hit by minions while it's still disabled, and just
so
getting
it doesn't strike back.
Exactly.
They can just hit it with whatever 3-powered thing and a couple, like whatever 3-powered, 2-powered, and 1-powered. All of their stuff lives. This dies. So this feels pretty terrible in any deck that it's like the only minion type of thing. Like it doesn't. You're going to need to have stuff to defend it when it's attacked, presumably.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no, right? Like you could be playing a deck light on minions where you play this, but you have a lot of removal, right? And then you don't need to, like, you just keep their board clear, sort of thing. Because obviously it pairs really well with the Abyssal Assault right next to it, which is you play this on 3, and then it can still do this, I think. Because it doesn't do any of the things that a disabled unit can do.
I thought a disabled unit can do damage still?
Maybe not, actually, yeah. I'm not sure. I know it can't strike, it can't shoot projectiles, stuff like that. But maybe damage is also a part of it.
You're going to have to pull the rules up.
Yeah.
A few moments later.
I mean, it just says while disabled, a minion has no abilities, including basic abilities, cannot strike, cannot take steps itself, cannot shoot projectiles, and cannot be tapped to pay for costs.
Right, which is none of those things. So
Yeah. So it should be able to do Abyssal Assault, and it doesn't get targeted by the magic for its own ability either. So technically, you should be able to. I think they work together.
yep. I mean, it's clearly playable.
Yeah.
Also, obviously playable and limited.
It's hard and limited, right? Like, because you're skipping one of your turns to play it, and then you have to spend the next few turns protecting it. So if your opponent's curving out, say you miss your 2-drop, you would have to then skip your turn 3 and play this in the safest spot possible, and potentially set yourself so far behind on tempo that you end up losing because of it.
Yeah.
Even when it comes online, it might not even be able to do enough because it was in like a bad position so that it didn't die, sort of thing. In that scenario, clearly bad, but in the scenario where you have a 2-drop and a 4-drop, it's really strong then, I think.
Yeah. And it's also obviously sort of later in the game. It's same as in Constructed, right? It's just a bit like the difference in Constructed, the type of deck that would play it is a type of deck that if you drew it later in the game, it's not bad still. Like you could still like do other stuff in your turn that you don't just have 8 mana, play this for 3, do nothing with the other 5 and skip your turn.
I mean, it's also got the other drawback of you potentially the game's just over before the 3 turns ends, right? If you draw it late enough.
Yeah.
Interesting
with Root Spider, it's going to disable the Genesis, right? So then it's just like a souped up.
Like a Slumbering Giant.
Yeah.
At that point.
Well, yeah, that's bigger. But yeah, obviously it's not the best color element combination like Root Spider and Water.
Yeah, and if there's other ways to stop its Genesis, it's obviously
there is. Doesn't Babbling Brook sort of just disable the water site that disables?
Yeah, that should stop its Genesis as well.
Yeah, so that's a pretty easy combo.
So really good there. That's super good. If you play that and then eat it with a bullfrog, does the disable post that wouldn't wake it up, would it?
I don't know if it's. I don't think so.
I don't think it would, because I think this would act like a I can't remember the word for it, but like an aura sort of thing.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Like
like a shield, like whatever it is. I can't remember the exact word, but yes.
Yeah, like with Wizard's Den,
like
even if it gets smokestacked
Yeah.
afterwards, you still would discard the card if it gets hit.
Yeah. That's sort of the interaction I was thinking of.
I mean, it's clearly playable though in both limited and constructed. Clearly, it's just
for sure.
I think in limited, it's probably not like a complete. I mean, I think the Wendigo is a much better, like way better card than if they're using in the same pack. Money aside, because obviously this is going to be worth more, but you're probably always taking the Wendigo, right? If they're in the same pack, first pick.
I don't know. Probably. Yeah, I think so.
But the money matters in that type of thing as well.
I think the biggest thing for me thinking first pick, first pack for the Wendigo is that it's one threshold. So it's like you're probably going to be splashing it into most decks that you draft anyway. Whereas there's a good chance this thing just might not end up in your deck if you're like, very light on water in your 3-element deck.
Yeah.
And then if you end up 4 elements, the Wendigo is way better.
Yep. I mean, this card's interesting. It's an interesting card though still. I do quite like. Yeah, I think unlike the Giantess, especially when it was 40-20, when it was just beta, like the Giantess was Earth, the Root Spider was Earth. You had 40 cards in your deck. You could have 3 of each. Like as a thing, it's a thing that could happen.
Deck to pull her off.
Yeah. Whereas this, it's like it'd be a 60 card deck. You can only have one of these. It's like is it
You're not
really
gonna build a
worth
deck
sort
around.
of like
Yeah.
building a deck around stopping this Genesis from happening?
I do sort of like the fact that this thing will wake itself up eventually as well. So like in a board state where it's pretty even, not much is happening. It'd be incredible in like a control mirror, right? Where you just jam it and they can't deal with it, and eventually that you'll be able to have a turn set up where they need to deal with this when it wakes up, but you can also have your mana to develop something else that they need to deal with. So potentially they can only choose one to deal with, whereas
Yeah.
you like use turn 3 to set that up. Sort of just like spending mana for a future turn, sort of thing. I think there's probably some pretty interesting plays around that. Whether or not control is even a thing anymore, who knows? But because I could definitely see a world where you were trying to play a control and you were against an aggro and this was your turn 3, you're probably dead if they were fast enough and you just skip a whole turn. Yeah, it's an interesting card though.
It's just interesting. I think it's
Certainly see some amount of play, whether or not
it's just in that bit of a weird spot, right? Like if it was, I don't know. It's kind of a bit fair. It's almost like it feels a little bit like an elite though, not a unique almost. To me,
I don't know. I mean, maybe. I think it's fine and unique though.
yeah. I'm not saying it isn't. Just the I don't know, whatever it does, like the impact and the power level and the whatever it's doing. It just, like I said, it's basically just like a.
Feels like maybe it should have been a little bit bigger if it was unique, for it to be unique.
Yeah, exactly. Right. If it was 7 power, then it would feel unique, but at 6 power, it feels elite.
Yeah.
Pretty much, right? It feels like it's not like, even if you do all the work to make this like not trigger the Genesis and come straight in and this and this and this and whatever, it's like it's basically just a slumbering giantess, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like, right? Like
Yeah.
it's. And then the thing with the slumbering giantess is like, you don't. It's not like you have to stop the Genesis. Like you can just ping it with the desert or whatever. Like it's way easier to make work.
Much easier.
So right. Anyway, just think if like that's the main thing, right? If it was like 7 or I don't know, if just 7 power for whatever reason, it just feels like when you're sort of talking 7 power or more, it feels like unique territory for some reason, and then like. You can, and there's plenty of elites that have 6 power type of thing. So, don't know. I think it's just. I think it's just if you do all the work to pull it off, it's like the end result is not particularly impressive anyway.
Yeah.
So, right. Next card, Lacuna Entity. Lacuna. That would be how you pronounce it, I think.
I think so.
Lacuna Entity. 5 mana, triple water threshold, so triple is pretty serious. 4 power. It's an elite monster. It has Submerge, it has Void Walk, and it has Genesis, drag target weaker minion from an adjacent site to here, ignoring regions.
I think this card's incredible. Outside of the Elder Ruins sacrifice shenanigans, I think this is the strongest card in this post, for sure. I think this card's incredible. Even if you just take it at face value as like generic removal on like a 4 power body, pretty good, because it's like very like it just ignores like restrictions for removal, which is pretty rare. Like you're either gonna get something underwater that'll kill most things, or into the void that'll kill everything that the submerge couldn't kill, sort of thing. But even without that, just the ability to potentially set up one of your own units, say like a Nelly or anything, or one of your own units that are going to be smaller than this underwater that already has submerge, and pull it up so that it can do its effect or like attack or do all those sorts of things, is also like just makes the card so flexible. And it's on a decent sized body, so it's hard to kill. So I really like this card.
So you target. So it has to be weaker. You have to be able to target it. So ignoring nearly all the targeting restrictions, but not literally all of the targeting restrictions. I think the main one is just stealth. Is that right?
Yes, that's what I think. Anyway, and then there's varmint warrens, I guess, as well. Like a beast in varmint warren.
Yeah, and maybe other similar effects that are. Varmint warrens is only beasts, I think, but yeah, something like that.
So a beast in varmint warrens is what I said.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, okay. So, and there may be other similar type effects that do it. Yeah, sure. So you can cast it in the void. You can drag something in the void to kill it, and you can cast it submerged. And
so you can pull something from above to submerged from any
which can basically be almost like 2 steps in that case, right? Like you're moving it potentially from the surface to the surface, and then effectively from the surface of one site to the subsurface of another site. So it's kind of like 2 steps. It has submerge and void walk, which
so that you can cast them in those.
Almost nothing has submerge and void walk, although the other thing we just looked at has both, right? The Shoggoth, yeah. So almost nothing could be completely immune to it, but the Shoggoth is.
Well, they can't pull the Shoggoth anyway.
Oh, because it's not weaker. Yeah, okay. So everything that's not weaker is also but it's
the fact that it has void walk and submerge means that you can kill like submerged minions most likely by playing it in the void and vice versa, right?
Yep. It's very.
I just think it's like
very,
super
very
flexible, and it's on like a good sized body. It's incredibly hard to kill.
It's just that triple water threshold, right? Like it's just.
Yeah.
It's only going to have a home in decks that can cast
heavy
it.
Water.
Yeah.
But I mean, most decks that are like want to be playing water, you generally want to play fairly heavy water so that you can get access to like body of water stuff as well, because it's like super powerful. So it's definitely going to have a really good home in a deck like that, I think.
Yeah, and it also feels really good in limited again, assuming like for the deck that can actually cast it, right? Because there'd be so many decks that can't. Like that's just not doable. Triple.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. But it's also such a strong card that you potentially warp your draft, unless you get it like pack 3 or something like late pack 3. You would try and warp your draft to be able to play this, I think.
Yep. And it's a monster, a monster that you would be happy to play generally. Again, if you could do the thresholds, which is exactly the type of thing that you would want for Abyssal Assault as well. If you have that like in your deck, you want a certain amount of monsters, as we're saying. So it's like almost basically an auto include playing 2 of these in Constructed. It feels like nearly every deck that is going to play 1 will play 2. Is that true?
Yeah, I think so.
Like if you can. Whatever, I think
anytime you can handle that triple water and 5 mana, like you're probably playing this card. Outside of some insane meta where, like, you can't get to 5.
Yeah.
But it's also pretty good in that meta because it killed, like...
Yeah, the fact that it instantly kills something... Yeah. Well, and can potentially block, right? Because with Void Walk it can defend... you can always sort of defend at least one site with it, right? Like if it's submerged, it can just defend the site it's on, or if it's in the void, it can defend at least one of your sites, maybe 2.
And a lot of the time, you'd probably be able to, like, say they have a minion that's attacked you, and then there's a minion that's ready to attack you. You play it, like, lined up with each other. You just play it, you kill the minion that's already on your side of the board by dragging it underwater, and then you can block the minion that was going to attack you anyway, so... potentially a lot of juice.
Definitely one where you would want to do that upside down T section as the starting, like play along the back and like funnel it all through.
Yeah,
Like one, either an upside, like however you do it, but definitely a reason to want to. There's all sorts of ways you can funnel on attacks through one site, but that would be a reason to want to create such a deck to sort of funnel them through. The fact that it immediately kills something and is a decent sized body left on the board, it wouldn't even feel terrible playing this early off a mix as well.
Yep.
Which the mix gives you the triple threshold, basically. So
yeah.
And that maybe at that point there's something like, obviously you wouldn't it would, I don't know what, but there's certainly water decks that we've built even in the past with ignoring this set where we've toyed around with mix aquas, right?
Yep.
So having like an extra card that you might want to jam early with it isn't, like, having the option isn't necessarily terrible. Because I can see if they get, like, there's just starts where it would just make sense, right? Like, you just play the mix, play this, kill their thing, and have a blocker that's bigger than whatever they're attacking with. Sure. Like, you're just happy to do that.
Yeah, and it'd be pretty easy to do with, like, that early in the game because there's so many extra voids as well.
Yeah.
Especially if they weren't even trying to be like an aggressive thing, right? And they played like some kind of key minion and they played in a very defensive, like say they played an Adept Illusionist or something that you wanted to kill straight away. There's definitely a void available near that guy wherever they played it, and then all of a sudden you kill their Illusionist, and then you set up for like a 4-power attacker, and all of a sudden you're the aggressive deck.
But as a I think it's just like,
it's also really good in aggressive decks. Like to clear out a blocker and get an extra fatty on board that it's almost certainly going to get an attack in because of like...
because you can play it effectively, right? Like on their backline to drag their defender into the void.
Yeah.
On their backline, right? And then smack them potentially on their starting side the next turn.
Yeah.
It's really... Yeah, it's just that triple water. Obviously, it just means that it will only be in some decks.
Yeah, it won't be in every deck, but every deck that can manage the triple water like very easily, this is going to be in that deck, I think.
But it's like really... Yeah, it's exactly just the type of card that... I mean, that we... Like, it ticks a lot of boxes, right? Like, just because it immediately does something when it hits the board. The thing is just it provides that immediate value. There's huge scope for it to do a 2-for-1 as well, and like potentially a very meaningful 2-for-1 as well. Because there's plenty of like weaker minions that, whilst their power may be technically weaker, they're actually stronger in regards to their power, like their power level on the board. Like Morgana is weaker. If you know, like there's a lot of stuff that's weaker that's kind of really important to clear out.
Kills Ruler of Thor, things like that. It's an incredible self-same simulacrum target.
Yeah, and the King of the Realm and the new one as well. Like that would typically just be like jammed in the back somewhere, and this can just snag them with the Void Walk. And then even if you just snagging a whatever, right, like a Red Cap Poweries or something, and then having something there to block their trade with their monstrous line or whatever the following turn, like that's pretty good.
Yep.
So, and even if they then trinket and kill it or whatever, it's still not terrible. Like that's kind of like a bad outcome that isn't even that disastrous. Like
in that scenario, it would probably never happen, right? Because if you pull their red cap under, you'd have to be under or in the void walk, and then they wouldn't be able to choose to attack your trinket up and attack your thing with the lion, right? You'd just be like, oh, all right, I just won't come up and block.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, unless they play the side under it or whatever. But yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, ultimately, specifics aside, it feels like, broadly speaking, your worst case scenario is that there's nothing to snag with it. So, and you got no other play.
And then you just have an evasive 4-power unit.
Yeah, which isn't terrible.
So, which is fine.
Or you snag something with it, and then for one way or another, they kill it before. Like, you don't get to 2-for-1 them. You get to 1-for-1 for whatever reason.
And at some point, in that scenario, probably absorb damage.
Yeah,
if you didn't get
which feels pretty good.
Yeah, which is fine.
So the worst case scenarios are not even that bad. And the best case scenario, like the worst case scenarios are scenarios that you're okay with. And then the best case scenarios are that it snags something really important and that they then basically have to use another card to get rid of it, or they can't get rid of it as well. It's just because
I see it being good against like red decks, right? That are like all the 3-power charge minions, where you kill one and then you have a 4-power unit, and they can't get it off the board, and it's just picking off stuff over and over.
Yeah, and if they have to desert and throw another 3-power charge thing into it, like that's pretty good.
Yep.
If, like it ate 1 3-power thing, like 2 3-power things ultimately, and like that feels pretty good. Like, and it does feel on the most part the board states where it doesn't do much are the board states that
evasive unit will actually be pretty good.
Yeah, for the most part. So it feels pretty good.
I think the ability to move your own units around is also like not to be slept on as well. I think that's going to be pretty powerful.
Yep. Yeah, and just having the option there, the versatility is pretty good.
Yep.
Like, I just know, some of the biggest grapple shot plays I've ever done involve grapple shotting a unit onto my own unit, and that's just because it just wasn't something that your opponent was sort of looking at, sort of thing, as an option, considering.
Yeah, but I think the biggest, like the ability to move something from subsurface to surface, it like doesn't really exist. So that's what I'm thinking about mostly.
Yeah,
which
I mean,
is
there are some.
Really
what is it? Nelly mostly. I don't think what else that's going to be super OP doing that with other than Nelly. But there may be something in this set that's really overpowered.
Yeah. I mean, even just like hiding an artifact underground, bringing it up multiple different directions, could be super relevant as well.
Yeah, even just having the option to do these things, even though it's not something that happens very often, but just having the option is a pretty big deal.
I mean, it's essentially like you have like a 3-power submerge unit, right? And you've axed it up, and then you get to bring it up. Like you maybe double axed it, getting ready, and then you bring it up and one shot, something like that. Because it's very hard to kill submerged units. So. And this guy's also pretty good at doing those things as well, just by himself. Like kill a unit, and then step up under their side, potentially set him up with some axes, potentially even if it's just in the void or something. There's definitely things you can do.
I don't know with what's a good example? Like Clamor of Harpies is one where you want to just teleport your own stuff sometimes. Can be really good teleporting your own kobolds sometimes, especially when you have trinkets in hand. It's just something that you're not normally doing that with the Clamor of Harpies. Normally you want to kill their thing if you can, but having the option is nice.
Yeah.
I think it falls into that sort of territory where.
And this guy also synergizes super well on the curve spots with like Lord of Unland as well, so you kill even bigger units, things like that.
Yep. Is that it? That is it for this one.
Yeah.
That's like really good. I feel like out of these ones that it's gone through like a bunch of cards for one theme, this is the strongest set overall. I think so far.
Might be true.
I think it feels stronger than the
super strong. The
demons.
other two in that are like decent. The Regurgitator, pretty decent. Incredible Unlimited. The Wendigo is just whichever way it ends up working is really good. The three in the middle are probably the weakest.
Three
but
in the middle. Let's work
they're all
these
still,
three. Okay.
Yeah, those three. They're probably the weakest, but they're still very gonna see play, right?
Yeah.
And then the Elder Ruins is either pretty solid in a certain deck or just completely busted in a deck that wants, what we're talking about, where you can sacrifice just as much as you want, sort of thing. Just having like a free sacrifice outlet is, maybe it's something that comes up a lot in this set. We just don't know yet because we haven't seen everything. But if it's not, it's gonna be in every deck that wants that ability.
Yeah. Yeah, this is really good. This Wendigo. Still will be interesting to know actually how it works because we don't even know for sure. But
yeah, the wording's a little bit too vague to work out which way it falls.
But actually, everything is technically playable and constructed.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't think we've seen any of these where that's true, right?
No, definitely not.
With the bunch of cards, just the one with the 3 sites, but
definitely not the Earth one.
No. So, yeah. So it looks like, based on just this very limited information, that Warts is getting some love. Some more love, I guess you could say. I think it got quite a bit in Arthurian Legends as well.
I mean, it might just be that the cards they've chosen to reveal are like the better water ones, and they've chosen to reveal like the worst of the other ones. So we don't know for sure, but I mean, these cards are good.
I feel like this thing is just, I don't know. This card here, I just imagine what I'm imagining something more like the Great Old One in scale type of thing, and less like a Slumbering Giantess in scale.
Yeah, that's fair.
Just based on the name and the art and like the rarity and like I think all of that comes together in something that's just a bit underwhelming.
I mean, to be fair, Great Old One seems completely out of whack with the rest of the game.
I guess so.
Maybe they went, let's not do that again.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, he's double the size of anything else in the game at the same cost as well, so with an incredible ability. So it seems weird.
Yeah, I don't know. All right, I think I've said enough there. There's something about it that just throws me off a bit with that one. It just feels, underwhelming. That's the correct term. Just between everything, the art, what it does, just the name, just feels like that number on the right's supposed to be bigger by at least one, maybe more than one.
Yeah, I think it probably should be more than, but yes, is what it is.
Yes, it is. It is indeed is what it is. So, alrighty, I think we're done, right?
Yep.
Alright, thanks everyone, and keep safe, keep well, keep enjoying your sorcery, and we'll catch you for the next one.